Hello. So Functional Fitness Friday. Today we're going to do a mix of really everything. And I'll go ahead and get started with the demos here in a second. We don't need any equipment. We're going to do 3 rounds and we're going to do 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest / transition time. And then we'll finish out the class with a little bit of breathing just to calm our bodies down, reset before the end of the day. So with our demos here, so our first 2 movements, we're going to do a single leg Romanian deadlifts. My head off apparently with the camera there angle. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and do 1 leg at a time. So we're going to sink into our hip here, push the hips back, bringing our chest forward, but making sure we're not going down too far, and then driving through. I want us to today do this part where we drive that knee up, hold here for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and then go back. So we're really working on the balance and stability here with that. And then if the single leg is not happening today, go ahead, put that toe on the ground, do a little bit more of a kickstand, but then you can still kind of bring that knee up like that. So like I said, we're going to do all on 1 leg, and then we're going to do all on the other leg, and then we're going to go ahead and make our way onto the ground. So we're going to do plank arm raises here. So either on the hands and knees or the hands and toes, keeping that core nice and tight. So tuck the pelvis in, and then 1 arm at a time. And I'm making sure if we're on those toes that our hips are facing the ground the whole time. So we got our headlights on our hips, line the ground. And then we're going to go ahead and flip over on our backs. So we're going to do, the next thing we're going to do are glute bridge marches. So for this, we're going to have our feet like hip width apart. We're going to push those hips up towards the ceiling. We're going to use those glutes. We're going to use the core. We're going to exhale, drive 1 knee up at a time, and then the other leg. So we're going to be alternating. That way, we really want to use that core to keep our back flat, but also using the core to drive the knees up. So then finally, we're going to end out with some dead bug holds. So we're going to have our hands in the air and then our knees directly above the hips, and push that belly button into the ground, and then engage the core here. So that is going to be our full circuit for today. So we're going to go ahead and get started real quick with our warm up. And we're going to go ahead and be on the ground in a half kneeling position here. We're going to do a little bit of our hip flexor hamstring stretch, really open up our legs. So we're going to go ahead, tuck the pelvis, squeeze the glute of the knee that's on the ground, and gently bring those hips forward. We're going to keep that core engaged. We're going to breathe into the belly, feeling the front of the hip expand. And then on our next exhale, we're going to go ahead and straighten our front leg, rock our hips back, bring our chest towards the knee. And we're going to do a nice big deep breath here. And we're going to exhale, coming back forward. So we're going to do 1 more. So we're squeezing that glute and pushing those hips forward. Nice big deep breath. And we're going to exhale, rock our hips back, toes to the ceiling, chest towards the knee. Getting that chest as close to the knee as we can. Nice big deep breath. And we can go ahead and exhale and come out of that. And then we're going to go ahead and switch our knee and our foot. So switching sides here. And then we're going to do the same checklist though. So we're going to tuck the pelvis, squeeze the glute, and push those hips forward. We should feel this opening up the front of the hip here. Breathing into the belly. We're going to do a big deep breath here. And we're going to exhale, rock our hips back, straighten out that our front foot, toes to the ceiling, bring that chest down, opening up all through the back of our leg here. Nice deep breath. And we're exhaling, coming back forward. So same checklist, tuck the pelvis, squeeze that glute, and push those hips forward. Squeezing the glute is key because that's going to help us really release the hamstring. So we're not only stretching it, but we're helping release it. We're going to do a nice big deep breath. And we're going to exhale, rock our hips back, toes to the ceiling, chest towards the knee. Breathe into that tightness. We're going to do 1 more breath here. And we can go ahead and exhale and come out of that. And then we're gonna go ahead and be on our hands and knees. We're just gonna do a little bit of rotation here, opening up our back and our spine. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna take one hand, we're gonna inhale, reach through in between the opposite arm, opposite leg. And we're gonna exhale, opening up towards the ceiling. We're gazing past our thumb. And we're gonna inhale, reach through. And exhale, opening up. And we're gonna do one more on this side, reaching through. And exhaling, opening up. We can go ahead and bring that hand back up underneath our shoulder. Then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So we're gonna take our opposite hand, reaching through in between the opposite arm, opposite leg. And we're gonna exhale, opening up towards the ceiling. Watching our hand the whole time. We're gonna inhale, reach through. And exhale, opening up. And last one, reaching through. And exhaling, opening up. And we can go ahead and bring that hand back up underneath our shoulder. And then we can go ahead and make our way to our feet because we are ready to rock and roll. So starting off with our single leg Romanian deadlifts. And we're going 45 seconds of work. Getting ready here, 3, 2, 1, and go. So starting with whichever leg you would like. Sinking into our hip here. So I like to push the hips back and then extend the leg out. And then we're driving up, working on balance and stability here. It also is helpful with in terms of stability if you're not wearing shoes. So that helps because like especially with these ones, when you have like shoes like this on, our foot is not fully flat on the ground, so it can be a little bit hard with stability. So, okay, we got this. 3, 2, 1. All right, I might have to switch over to the kickstand ones today because that was not working. So yeah, so we can always put the toe on the ground and do the same thing. 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna try on this side, see how it works. So sink into the hip, drive the hips back, and then really drive through the heel, big toe, little toe as we bring the knee up. We want that slight bend in our knee. Our headlights on our hips are blinding the ground the whole time. Driving back. And then I do find it helpful sometimes for me if I'm starting to come forward a little bit too far and feeling it in the back. I like to pretend like I have my dumbbells and I stop where I normally would with a 2-leg RDL. Okay, balance is getting a little bit better. Great job. 3, 2, 1. All right, so next up we're on the ground. We have plank arm raises here. So either hands and knees or hands and toes. And we're gonna get ready. 3, 2, 1. So I always do like to be on my knees for this, mainly because then I can really focus on feeling it in my core, keeping my core engaged, as well as really using the arms and moving nice and slow through this. But regardless of if we're on the knees or on the toes, making sure that our core is engaged. So butt to belly button, zip that core up, exhale as we come up, and making sure that our hands are directly below the shoulders. And then keeping those headlights on our hips, blinding the ground. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. All right, next up, we're on our backs. We have glute bridge marches. Then we're going to do our dead bug hold. And then we're going to do 2 more rounds. And then we're going to stretch and breathe. 3, 2, 1. So feet are hip width apart, driving through the heels. We want those glutes to be engaged. And then as my right knee comes up, we're going to exhale, zip the core up. The opposite glute is engaged. So we're going to feel this in the glutes and in the core. And that's why I do like this movement because it is a really good way to strengthen our hips and our torso. So that's why I do love some glute bridge marches. Very functional exercise. And we're exhaling, driving up. Try and get those knees up as much as we can. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. All right. Last move, we're going to hold that dead bug. This is a great way to really focus on engaging and activating our core. 3, 2, 1. So hands directly above our shoulders and then knees above the hips. If our knees are in too far like this, we're going to feel that in the hip flexors. We want to push those legs out. That's going to help us use our core. We're zipping the core up. So if we pretend like we have a zipper going down the middle of our torso, we're zipping up, bringing both sides of our core together. And if we act like we're exhaling through a straw, really, that's going to bring everything kind of down and together. So that's what I want us to focus on here. Again, really good for core strength, engagement, and activation. 3, 2, 1. And round 1 is done. So we're going to go ahead and stand back up. We have our single leg Romanian deadlifts. I'm going to do the kickstand this time around. 3, 2, 1. So I have one toe on the ground for this. Really making sure still, just like any other Romanian deadlift, we're really pushing the hips back. We have the slight bend in the knee. Hips are closing that door. Like we act like we have groceries in our hands. Driving through the heel, big toe, little toe here. I forgot I'm supposed to be holding that at the top. So again, working on the balance and stability. And a little bit of core work with that, holding the leg up and strengthening the hip flexors as well. Great job. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing on the other leg, and then we'll be back on the ground. But again, using either the kickstand approach or a regular single leg deadlift, whatever feels good. 3, 2, 1. So on the toe, pushing back, and then driving that knee up. Really drive the hips back, and then push the ground away. It does help too to really keep that core down and together. So we're zipping that core up. It's going to help us really get a nice keeping our back flat so we don't have any pressure on that low back. And again, going down, as soon as our hips are done, we come back up. So we don't want to bring our chest past the hips. You might feel the stretch there. 3, 2, 1. But that's going to use all of the low back to kind of stand back up. So we do want to avoid going past our hips there. All right, so we have our plank arm raises next. Getting ready here. 3, 2, 1. So again, hands and knees or hands and toes. If you want to challenge yourself, definitely go on those toes. I like to spread my legs out. So when I am doing on my toes are almost off of the mat at this point. So having a nice wide base here, keeping that core engaged, zipping it up, and then keeping those headlights on our hips, blinding the ground. So it definitely is, it works the core for sure. And then really making sure our hands are directly below our shoulders. Great job. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. All right. I think my shoulders are going to be really sore tomorrow after doing that. Okay, glute bridge marches are next. So we're laying on our backs. Feet hip width apart. 3, 2, 1. So we're going to tuck that pelvis, drive those heels up. One leg at a time. Really zip that core up. Exhale as we drive the knee. We don't necessarily want to use our legs to bring our legs up. So if you're feeling it in your hip flexors. Really try and focus on bringing that core together. And it does help if we exhale as the knee drives up, because that's how we're going to use that core and keep that core engaged. Great job. Like I said, these are really good for the glutes and for our torso. 3, 2, 1. All right. Dead bug hold, and then we got one more round. And then we'll stretch and breathe. All right, 3, 2, 1. We're holding here. Again, making sure that our knees are directly above the hips. When they're here, we're going to feel that in the hips a little bit more than we should. I really want us to focus. You can keep those legs relaxed, like to an extent. And then we're really just using that core. Focus on the core. Breathe through the straw. Bring everything together and down while we're zipping it up. I do think that focusing on the breath and as we exhale, just bringing it all together is really a very helpful way to focus on that. 3, 2, 1. All right. 2 down, 1 to go. So we're going to start off with our single leg Romanian deadlifts with that little pause hold at the top. 3, 2, 1. So again, either doing a kickstand and bringing that knee up, or really pushing the hip back, extending that leg out, really making sure that as we extend out, we're not opening those hips up. We want our hips facing down the whole time, because that's going to help us with that core strength. It's it's anti-rotation aspect of our core that we're working on there. So we're trying not to rotate, which is a lot of these movements that we have today. It's a lot of anti-rotation there. Forgetting to do that part. 3, 2, 1. All right. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Then we'll be done with RDLs. We'll be able to go on the ground, and then we'll finish out the rest of the class from the floor. All right. 3, 2, 1. So push the hips back, push the ground away. Again, you're finding yourself going down too far. I like to, because sometimes, especially when I don't have weight, my chest tends to come too far forward. So we're really pushing those hips back, but I like to, again, act like I still have my dumbbells here. And that kind of reminds me like, okay, yeah, I need to come back up, and I don't want to go down any further than that. Which it will look different for everyone. My hips are going to go back a little bit, maybe closer or farther. So really just being mindful of that. And if you are feeling it in your back, that's likely why. And then making sure too, we're standing up nice and tall at the top. 3, 2, 1. All right. Done with those. So we're on the ground next. Plank arm raises. Your hands and knees or hands and toes, whatever feels good for you. 3, 2, 1. I definitely would recommend trying it from the toes if we normally do it on the knees, similar to how I did last time. Or you can do, maybe a few from the knees, a few from the toes, and kind of alternate back and forth there. So there's small ways to make it a little bit more challenging while also still getting the work in. Now, sometimes, especially like with the, the RDLs, I switched over to that kickstand because I wasn't getting the engagement or like the workout from that movement when I wasn't doing that. So picking what feels good, but what you can also do for the whole time, and using the muscles and getting the most out of it with that intent. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. All right, on our backs, glute bridge marches, and then dead bugs. Then we're going to stay on our back for our cool down. 3, 2, 1. So again, feet hip width apart, drive the hips up, keeping that pelvis tucked, bring the core together, and exhale as we come up. And really engage the opposite glute. So right now my left knee's up, my right glute is engaged, and then on the other side. So this again is also, yes, it's functional because we're doing the glutes and the torso, but it's also, you know, a single leg movement. So it will kind of, you know, help us to strengthen and even out each side. I know for me specifically, my right glute is always just a little behind. So this is a great way to kind of work on that. 3, 2, 1, and down. All right. We have our dead bug hold. And then we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of stretching. 3, 2, 1. All right. Hold here. Focus on the breath. Keep that core together and down. I think my core is starting to get tired. I started to shake a little bit. So just really focus on that core, on all that not movement, but just engaging everything. Like I said, this is a great way to like really focus on just activating and engaging the core. And that's going to help just make all the movements that we do inside of class, outside of class, all that is going to make everything a little bit better. 3, 2, 1, and that is it for our circuit. So go ahead and grab a sip of water if you need it. And then we are going to be on our backs for the rest of the class. And what we're going to start with, we're going to do a figure 4 Piriformis stretch. And that's just going to help us really open up our hips, our glutes, our hamstrings, because we did a lot of that today. So you can start with whichever foot you want on the ground, and then you'll take your opposite ankle, cross it over that knee, and you can press on that knee. And if that tension feels good, go ahead and stay there. If you need a little extra tension, let's go ahead and interlace those fingers, grab it either behind the knee or in front of the shin, and pull the knee towards the chest. And then with each breath, we're really just going to let the body relax, making note of those tight areas. You might feel this more so like right behind your glutes. You might be feeling it maybe a little bit in your hamstrings, or maybe even your hips, the front of your hips. So just making note of that. It might feel different today than it does normally when we do this. You know, again, just making those mental notes. And we're going to do one more deep breath. And as we are finishing our exhale, when we're ready, and gently bring that foot to the ground. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So taking your opposite ankle, crossing it over your knee. Again, if that feels good, you can even press down on that knee. Go ahead and stay there. If you need a little bit extra tension, go ahead and interlace those fingers and grab either behind the knee or in front of the shin, and pull that knee towards the chest. So breathing into the tight areas, helping our body relax. Breathing into the belly. And with each exhale, release the tension you feel in your body, even in your head, neck, and shoulders. I know sometimes when I'm pulling my knee in, I'm starting to like get tense in my upper body. So we just want to relax, release all of that tension we feel today. And we're going to do one more breath. And as we are finishing that exhale, when we're ready, go ahead and bring that foot to the ground, and then the other foot. And then we'll go ahead and straighten out our legs all the way. And we're going to do a little bit of breathing here. So when I like to do breathing, I like to have my right hand over my stomach, over the diaphragm, and the left hand over the heart. And when we inhale, when I say breathe into the belly, we really want to use that diaphragm. That's going to help us get more air into our lungs. We want the right hand to raise more than the left hand does. So this is a great way to kind of practice that. So we're just going to do a few breaths here without any tempos here. So we're just breathing in through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Practicing those belly breaths here. And we're just going to do one more breath without a tempo. So we can keep that breathing up. The goal again is to make, not again, I don't think I said this yet today. So our goal with this breathing is we want those exhales to be longer than our inhales. It's a great way to calm the body down, calm the heart rate down. We're tapping into our rest and digest versus our fight or flight, which is really good after a workout. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do some tempos here for a few breaths. So I want us to we're going to inhale for 4 seconds. We're going to hold for 4 seconds, and we're going to exhale for 8 seconds. So we're going to repeat that. So we're going to do a few of those. We're going to inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to do that again. So we're going to inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So go ahead and keep that tempo. We're going to do a few more here. I'm going to give us a little bit of quiet. Awesome job. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more breaths. Keeping that tempo. Our right hand rising more than the left. And last breath here. And after we have finished our last exhale, we can gently start to wake the body up, wiggle our fingers and toes, move our head side to side. And then when we're ready, we can make our way over onto our side, getting up nice and slow, and then returning seated, kneeling, or standing. But that is going to be all the time for today's class. So thank you for joining me. We have next week, we have all of our classes at our regular times. So you can always keep up with that on SharePoint.